Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, so this is our last session. You never thought this moment would come when it's here. This is our last session. We have our last plenary speaker today, Dr. Pascual Pérez Paredes. I'll read the biodata and then I'll say a couple of things. Pascual Pérez Paredes is a lecturer in research in second language education at the Faculty of Education, University of Cambridge. His main research interests are learner language variation, the use of corpora in language education, and corpus-assisted discourse analysis. He has published research in journals such as the International Journal of Corpus Linguistics, CAL, Language, Learning and Technology, System, Recall, or Discourse and Society, to name but a few. He is a member of the editorial board of, among others, Register Studies, John Benjamin's, and from 2011 to 2014, he was General Coordinator of Campus Mare Nostrum, Spain. It is a real pleasure to introduce Pascual. Pascual has been a long friend for many years now. I would say probably nearly 20 years. And we met when we went to a conference in Louvain in Belgium, and I've never had so much fun in my life, I have to say. In a conference, or maybe in life in general.
In the right context.
And taken in the right context, yes. Anyway, and it was, he is a wonderful speaker and a wonderful scholar, and very generous, a very generous scholar that always is sharing his ideas and his enthusiasm with everyone. And the moment I said, could you come over? He said immediately, can you take the last plenary? He said, no problem. Do you mind if we're late? No problem. And he's coming back again. So he's a very good colleague to have, very generous. And he's at Cambridge, and today he's going to talk about the view of internationalization, maybe also with a British touch to it. And I would really recommend that we have time for questions at the end before the closing kind of ceremony or talk. And then remember that we have our choir, Latin American choir, next door that we definitely cannot miss. Thank you very much. Pascual, the floor is yours.
Well, Emma, thank you very much. And I'd like to thank Emma for this very kind invitation to be here today. So it's a real pleasure to be here today. And I very much thank you for being here today. I know it's 2 days, and I know that you have very difficult lives. You teach, you do research, you have families, you have hobbies, you have children, you have a million things to do, but you are here today. So you are the best people, right? The best people ever. I mean, I really mean it. So very high expectations. I should have prepared more jokes. So maybe this is not so much fun. I don't know why it was so much fun. Maybe I was younger. I don't know. You can find most of the references online. So if you go there, you can find references and links to all the documents and policy documents I'll be talking about today, right? So, okay, here it is. What we are doing now is we will do some time traveling, so please come with me, hold my hand. We'll be traveling back in time and then coming back to present day. So it's going to be probably lots of time traveling today, so embrace it, okay? Then I'll be talking about discourses and prevailing discourses, and then I'll be talking about I think it's the most interesting part of this talk is the multilingual turn, right? Let me open my heart to you and let me tell you what all of this is about. I don't want you to think what I mean. I'm going to tell you what I mean before I actually start. So I believe that there is a prevailing discourse that says very much that universities in Spain are a failure because we are not relevant on a global scale, right? Okay. I'm talking about the prevailing discourse out there, society, outside our, bubbles, academic bubbles and all that, okay? And my argument today is I want to make the case for a multilingual university that takes into account multilingual cultures and can really produce or contribute to produce multilingual spaces of practice and communication, as I believe that this is an essential ingredient for internationalization in the 21st, almost the third decade of the 21st century. We are almost there, third decade of the 21st century. So this is what my colleagues are doing right now in Cambridge. This is a workshop in Cambridge. Yeah, and we have cows. I mean, not in the faculty, but very near the faculty we have cows. So it's a sunny day there, but I very much prefer to be here today, sharing this moment with you, although the sun there is glorious, you know. We get so little sun, and especially this year. It's been terrible. Time traveling, okay, ready? 3, 2, 1, here we go. Right, this is the Campus de Excelencia Internacional program. Let's go back to 2009, 2010. Those were the 2 years where most of the Campus de Excelencia Internacional got their labels or you know, their appointments right back in those years. Those were the years, you know, where we believed that we could really do something with the Spanish university system throughout these programs. Some money, not huge money. This is not the German excellence program. This is not the French Paul d'Excellence program, but it was nice. But you know, 2011, even we got funding in 2011, but you know, that funding even in 2011 was not implemented because of the crisis, 2012, 2013. That really was one of the 2 or 3 terrible years for this program. So very much that was an opportunity for small universities like the one in universities that I represented here, University of Murcia and Politécnica de Cartagena. It was a great opportunity for us to implement, you know, bilingual education and EMI programs, right? Although we were just beginning at the time. This was the first fully fledged EMI program, 13, 14, right? We started this back in 2011 with education and business, with a business school. Okay, right. So also it was, you know, that this program was very much about clustering, you know. So this notion of clustering, doing things with other, you know, research centers and NGOs and the community. That was fascinating work. We did so much, but the program is dead, okay? So which is a very Spanish thing, you know. It's, anyway. Okay, so let's go back in time. You know, all of this happened in this context. 2005, okay, you know, well, you know, great, Spain opts to instruct in English, great. El País 2009, la Universidad Europea ya habla inglés, y el alumno, okay, right, la oferta de títulos en inglés es muy escasa en el sur de Europa, yes. Los campus británicos temen ahora por su ventaja competitiva. Well, I don't think so, but anyway, yes, let's do this. Let's do this, right? Okay, right. And this is great, you know, this is the Vice Chancellor of the UNED at the time was claiming, you know, we need a clear policy document in terms of how we want to go about internationalization, so we need to work in this area. So this is 2009, okay? I don't know if you're familiar with this. We are going further back in time, 1999. Dennis cheese or something. Anyway, re-engineering the university. This is a very dangerous paper. This was so widely cited, especially in the US and probably in the neoliberal tradition, you know. Really, I didn't see this coming. When I read this paper, you know, it's like Robinson Crusoe. I mean, you read Robinson Crusoe, and if you're not aware of post-colonial literature, you say, oh yeah, you know, this guy goes somewhere to colonize, which is great, and finds this guy and name him Friday. Oh, it's excellent opportunity to meet people. You are not meeting people, you are trying to colonize people. But maybe you don't even notice that you are doing that. So I really didn't, when I read this a long time ago, I really didn't notice what was going on there, you know. Apparently he's talking about, you know, online learning, you know, great revolution. Universities need to embrace online learning. We need to change because the world is changing. So, but then you then all of a sudden you find the crisis in universities, both financial and structural. And when you do this course studies, you know that if you use crisis, you know, you have a good reason to do that. So you simply drop it, crisis. And then you talk again about crisis. And then 1,000 people talk about crisis, and there is a crisis. You know what I mean? So look at, this is the final paragraph in that document. It may be tempting for universities to consider their current financial situation as temporary. He was talking about crisis in 1999 in the US, and defend the existing structures and roles, blah, 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 blah. Taxpayers have other preoccupations and other priorities, unemployment, healthcare among them. But universities and taxpayer money, you know, it's just, finally, the prestige of local universities is quickly eroding. Why? Because you say so, right? Because it is convenient in this particular context. To be honest, I didn't see it coming, but this was the beginning of what I think is the neoliberal efforts to destroy public universities, in this case, in our case, in Europe as well. So that was the context. And looking back, I very much believe that I, as a manager at the time, I was very naive when I was implementing these programs back in 2011, 2012. We were doing this probably from a monolingual perspective, and there's a couple of very nice research here that talk about the complexities of implementing, I mean, you can read that, that's excellent papers that talk about the complexities of implementing EMI programs in the Spanish context. But I'm speaking from the heart here, right? I think we were very naive at the time. Okay, back to the future, right? Nice. So remember this prevailing discourse that I mentioned earlier? So I decided to do a little bit of research. I won't be talking about how I did this. I used Factiva for my research purposes, and I wanted to know how the Spanish university is seen in the UK press and in the Spanish press, okay? So, okay, are you ready? Okay, let's go, come on. Again, time traveling. 2016. Okay. Deberíamos tener varias universidades en el top 200 y no tenemos ninguna. Incluso Italia tiene 4. Incluso Italia tiene 4. Incluso Italia tiene 4. Es decir, alguna universidad deberíamos tener dada nuestra importancia económica. Okay, great. The Guardian. Student life is really like at Spanish university. What do you think I am going to show you next? Yes. Okay, good, yes. And this is great. It's not all work. Spanish students definitely know how to party. So we have the enemy at home. We have, of course, the UK friends doing this very analysis of student life in Spain. Garden 2016, the best places to study. This is a very interesting feature. Spain, okay, yes, this is very competitive, blah, 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 blah. I improved my Spanish, blah, 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 blah. Yes, you know, when I was in the Spanish university, I felt like I was in school, and then I sent emails to my teachers that proved difficult at points. Somebody mentioned this email thing. This is all that we find about Spanish universities in The Guardian. Maybe we don't like it, but it's there. I don't like it, right? 2014, the OECD report. Come on, this is too bad. Spain and Italy and unemployment. well, they are not actually highly skilled. Skip this. Look at this. Duncan McDonnell, a senior lecturer at Griffith University in Brisbane. He spent years in Italy, and so he's an expert. And, well, you know, Italian learners, they don't have any significant writing skills, so, you know, it's all right for them to be unemployed. They deserve it. Okay, what about this one? By the way, this is Spanish. This is not a Spanish paella. You can notice the chorizo there. So this is an UK paella. So, but yeah, okay, anyway, 2017, right? Okay, good. Certeza de que nuestro sistema universitario es un desastre. El acuerdo en esta cuestión está por encima de nacionalidades, autonomías. Es un hecho. Sigue el desastre. Ninguna universidad española entre las 150 mejores del mundo. Nice. Thank you. I won't say anything about this one, but I just want to think that this guy did his research to write this thing. It's published. This is online. This is, I don't really know, but this is Mercados from Bloomberg. And this is not the worst part of the 2017. 2018. Okay, this is a much better feature, right? Talking about teachers and lecturers, foreign lecturers in the Spanish university system. Madrid is doing very well, second region in Spain compared to Catalonia, 3.9, 2.1%, right? Which is, well, you know, in terms of the whole country is great. Okay, and again, 2018, you know, we need better policies. You know, this is the same stuff as we found in 2009, so we are still, you know, we need better policies. We need to think about this. We need to do something which is meaningful. We need to work harder here, okay? So, you know, Isabel is not here, but Isabel here is talking about, you know, trabas burocráticas. That's a big issue to bring international students and teachers and lecturers to the Spanish universities, blah, blah, blah. Well, you know, the very latest, I won't be talking about that. I'm not interested in this at this point. But look at this. Because there is corruption, look at this. No es de extrañar que ninguna de las universidades españolas se sitúe entre las 200 mejores del... So again, it's the same discourse. It's over and over and over and over. Well, you know, you are not, no Spanish university is in the top 200. You deserve it for some reason. I mean, we should close all the universities. What are you doing there? This kind of thing there. I don't know if you're familiar with this book, What Are Universities For? By Stefan Collini. It's an interesting read. It's not a perfect book for many reasons, but it's really interesting. And he's talking about this hostile sort of discourse that we find in the UK media against universities, okay? And it usually starts with the funding, but ends up with the very existence of universities. So it's always about funding, but at the end of the day, it's about why do we need universities? So that's the kind of discourse you find there. Are you with me? Yes? Okay, good. So it's important that you are engaged, okay? So let's move on. Okay, so what is wrong with the Spanish higher education system? Well, it seems that we don't have enough non-Spanish staff. We need more students from other countries who are non-Erasmus students. We need to do better in international university rankings, and Spanish universities are atrapadas por la burocracia. So probably, I don't know, some of these may make sense, ring a bell or something, but very much that is also part of this discourse that you find there. Okay, so, you know, so it's like, is this, we just fell from grace at some point? Are we doing something wrong? Did we ever live in paradise? When was that? Was the Spanish university ever a good thing? Or do we need to be saved? What is our sin? You know? Are you familiar with the legend of King Arthur? You know that King Arthur said, okay, I'm going to leave, so I will retire to my tent, to my dreams. So I leave this all to you. But you know, things are so bad that people just come to keynote or tell us, return from the dead, what do you appear for this loving Englishman would fight tyranny and corruption without my help. Oh, what is this? The vultures at home making life of agony for the people they groan under, blah, blah, blah. Blood-sucking taxes, brutal butchery. Oh yes, look at this guy. This is a very important guy in my presentation. You will meet this guy again, right? Oh, can you stop this? Oh yeah, I will. Just desert your cruel masters. He's not talking about master programs. He's talking about, you know, like, just to make it clear, right? Oh yes, we will, yes. Okay, prevailing discourse, okay? So my question is, well, you know, it's internationalization, the return of the King Arthur here. So it's like, you know, we need internationalization to save the Spanish university. Is this the answer to the many problems of the Spanish university? So is it, you know, very much, again, look at this guy. So, you know, can you do this? Okay, are you still with me? Yes? Okay, more people are falling asleep, so I was worried. Anyway, okay, you know, rankings. I looked at this year, this was published I think two weeks ago. This is the Times Higher Education Ranking, and I went into the methodology that they use, right? Of course, ranking number 1, University of Oxford, number 2, Cambridge, number 3, California Institute of Technology. Great, okay, fine, okay. So they look at teaching, they look at research, citations, and international outlook and industry income. And I was really naive, because in the Seminario Internacional, the notion of internationalization was kind of something that cut across all of this: international teaching, international research, international citations, international industry income, and all that, right? But it is not the case in these international rankings. So when you look at in detail at the methodology, this is what you find. So the international outlook accounts for 7.5% of the 100 score that you get. It's only 7.5%. So it's international domestic student ratio, 2.5. International domestic staff ratio, 2.5. International collaboration, 2.5. And then it's teaching, 30%. Wow, this is great, but look at this. Reputation survey, that's 15% or 18? 15%, right? 15%. And look at research, reputation survey, 18%. So you can do wonderful things in terms of research income, but there is this reputation survey that's going to be 18%, 15% here, and international outlook, it's 7.5%. So my question here is, you know, really can you do this? Can internationalization really be, you know, the answer to all what's going wrong with the Spanish university? Is this the real issue here? Back to the future, okay? Right, this is my thesis. Life out there is multilingual and language learning is not unidirectional. Okay, I will explain this later. Okay, let's have a look at the UK perspective. Okay, you are very warmly invited to the royal wedding. It's going to be soon. I went to Poundland the other day and I got my mask. You can guess which one I bought. You can take your pick anyway. Okay, interesting document here. British Council. The future, this was out, just came out 2 weeks ago. The future of English in the European Union, 2025 and beyond. Look at this. Well, are you familiar with this Very British Problems website and Twitter? Have you ever heard of Very British Problems? It's a great Twitter account. They use English, like very naive, everyday English expressions, but they translate what they really mean. So, and this is my personal view, okay, of course. The total number of potential English language learners in parts of the EU is set to fall by 15.3 million by 2025. This is not because of Brexit or increased protectionism, but because of demographic changes. So, this means we have a problem. We have a huge problem here, okay? And they go into detail, and they kind of think that it's probably because of the very demographics of the European Union now. We need probably more training for adults than we will need for younger generations that will be more, you know, well into higher levels of competence in the language and all that. Let me tell you about this particular interesting document we put together in the Cambridge Language Sciences, the value of languages. You can find the link also on my website. This is really an interesting study that was trying to influence policy making in the UK and really looking at the sort of state of language learning in the UK as of 2015, 2016. This was published last year, 2017, right? So main findings, lack of additional language skills in British candidates to get a job, but also business underestimate the importance of cultural and language skills, and emerging quantitative evidence of business loss to UK companies through lack of language skills. This was the case in the House of Lords just 3 months ago, where it was given this evidence, and there was a very interesting discussion at the House of Lords there. Bernadette Holmes is, she leads the Born Global Research Project, and this is an interesting quote. Globalization and the status of English as a lingua franca can lead to false conclusions about the relative importance of language learning to English-speaking young people. There are assumptions that as everyone speaks English, there is no need for English speakers to make an effort to speak other people's languages. This assumption must be challenged and overturned for a number of reasons. So very much this document is setting the scene for that sort of debate and making recommendations for an urgent action to be taken in terms of new policy making in the UK, where a number of students taking A-levels in languages, but also in GCSEs, is really alarming. Another interesting document is, this is also a Born Global initiative, as well as sponsored by British Academy. This is a December 2015 document. This is a very interesting survey with small and medium companies in the UK. Okay, so again, findings here is that 52% of those companies believe that they actually needed languages for their success and their business opportunities in the future. And okay, we have very good news, right? Again, somebody said yesterday, these are the languages that, according to, I'm not talking about multinationals, I'm not talking about big companies, I'm talking about small and medium companies, they believe are the most useful languages: Spanish, French, German, and Chinese, both Cantonese and Mandarin, right? I was really surprised. I thought Chinese would come up first, but again, probably it's because of the size of these companies. Maybe they do more export-import with Europe, so probably this is why. This is not the case with large companies, where Chinese plays a different role there. British Council Languages for the Future, right? Good news also. Spain now is in the, I think if I remember well, yeah, in the level of proficiency in English, we are moderate, according to the British Council, okay? So this is great because we used to be low just a few years ago. Now we are moderate, right? Very high, Netherlands, Denmark, yes. Okay? And what about this? They followed this very complex methodology based on different metrics and inputs, and they came with this list of the most interesting languages for the UK in terms of learning. Number 1, Spanish; second, Mandarin; French, Arabic, German, Italian, Dutch, and so on and so forth. So Spanish is top 1 in 2 different lists, right? One in the British Council report, and also in the study with the SMEs in the UK. This is not the case with Spanish, but you know, Spanish is not perceived as a very influential language for international education in the UK. So there is a difference there. So it's okay, Spanish, you want to do business, but Spanish, you know, in terms of perception, right? This is a perception, right? We are not doing so well there. So maybe, you know, probably we should do something about that. Okay, are you with me? Yes? Okay, good. Let's move on. Okay, I want you to be this lady here, right? I want you to be, I mean, she's my hero, right? You are this lady, right? So you need to focus. If she can do it, you can do it, right? Okay, right, yeah, I mean, I can say this, and probably you would say, yes, of course, bilingual is the new normal. Yes, we all know that. Roosevelt, 1907, okay? So probably he had a different idea about what, you know, multilingualism is all about. But also, monolingualism has a very dirty effect on people's lives and societies, right? And you can see this is a very good example of a populist right-wing discourse in the UK that links monolingualism, English-only contexts, and migrants, right? This is a very nasty thing, I think. Yes, this is slide number 78. Yes, okay, and you didn't even notice. So, okay, the multilingual term, what is the multilingual term, right? I could tell you about the many cognitive benefits being bilingual or multilingual, but maybe you already know that. There is substantial evidence that being bilingual or multilingual is great for especially what we call executive functioning. So that means that you can do more things simultaneously, for example, than non-bilingual or non-multilingual people, right? Also economic benefits, you know, those two studies were about, you know, we need to make the case that if you are bilingual or you hire bilingual people, your business will do better, right? So that kind of thing, right? Or, of course, societal gains, you know, like the value of languages, you know, the more languages we speak, the richer will be our experience, right? And of course, I want to say that it is important to remember that there are different ways to be bilingual and multi. There's not only one official, nice, right or wrong way to be bilingual or multilingual. And you know, this notion that a bilingual is somebody that is raised with two languages simultaneously is okay, but it's just a way to be bilingual, right? So there is no single definition that we'll need to adapt to every single individual on planet Earth. By the way, if you have the time and you are interested in all this, Ellen Belstock, she has published extensively in this area, and although there is a debate on the extent of these benefits, it is, you know, the evidence is out there that there is no doubt that being bilingual is good for not only for your cognition, but also it's even good for your health. Good news is bilingual people take 5 years than the average American to develop dementia. This is a fact. Okay, so you have extra 5 years to, I don't know, whatever you want to do, right? That's, I won't say anything, right? Okay, so yeah, yeah, the point I'm trying to make here is that there's an opportunity for higher education institutions, particularly in Spain, that where, as we have just seen, we are so lucky to have not only one language, which is Spanish, but other languages also in the country, that combined with English can offer a very attractive sort of landscape for the growth of a more multilingual institution that is attractive for not only people living in this country, but people coming to this country to study here and to do their studies and to live here and to grow as individuals here as well, right? Okay, but I know, and this is not the right room to talk about this. We've been talking about this in across different plenaries and across different presentations in these 2 days. There is challenges for staff, both researchers and teachers, but also admin people. Especially admin people is very important here, right? It's absolutely crucial that there's, you know, kind of policy guidelines and instruments just to involve also admin people in this internationalization process, which also includes a more multilingual turn there, but of course that cuts across different areas. But again, I think we are not ready yet. Again, a very recent document, the internationalization of higher education in Spain. I think it was published a few months ago, right, Emma? Right? Yeah. So there is a section there on Spanish as an asset, which is great. You know, but again, when you read this, it's kind of, yeah, you know, well, yeah, Spanish, you know, many people speak Spanish. Yeah, yeah. But there's no effort there to kind of make this click between the multilingual perspective, like, you know, using Spanish and English can offer, and of course other languages, right? But especially Spanish and English can offer universities like this one a win-win sort of situation. You can only benefit from that combination where you create a truly more multilingual sort of environment where students can feel at ease working on 2 different languages, 2 very powerful languages, not because it's spoken by many people, right? Or because also it can give you access to so many different stories and to so many different, you know, insights. Yeah, what is language? Yes, it's kind of what is. Maybe they were doing internationalization, and probably is the wrong end of the stick, but probably they were. Anyway. Okay, so this is, I think this is the most interesting part of my talk today, right? I believe that as universities, I think we have the obligation actually to tell people that the language faculty is not monolingual, and that, as I said earlier, there are different ways to be multilingual, and we are willing and ready to respect that. Right? And that it is okay to be multilingual in many different ways. And there is not a right or wrong way to be multilingual. And but we need to promote that and kind of achieve this sort of difficult balance between top-down and bottom-up sort of approaches where, you know, it's not only kind of management policies, but also it's, as Emma said earlier, just this bottom-up understanding of how to be international or how to promote internationalization that should be in place there, right? And we know in applied linguistics that, you know, because we've been looking at learning languages from a monolingual perspective, we are so biased. Even the terminology L1 and L2, 2 boxes, L1, L2. So, well, okay, that is so biased. It is a very, you know, that's ideological, you know. It kind of promotes the notion that we have one single L1 and we typically have one single L2, and that, as was pointed out by Lourdes Ortega, that is seen through what she calls the target deviation perspective, you know, whereas non-bilinguals are failed approximators of native language systems. And please, this is no major criticism, right? Maybe I also do it like all the time in my own research, maybe. But I think we treat learners as sometimes as failed approximators. You know, when we say, well, yeah, well, you know, but you are not a B2. I mean, think about people's identities as learners, you know? And I totally get that we need certifications, we need to actually make sense of what we are doing in terms of, but at the same time, I think we should be more careful, you know? Anna said yesterday, y llegaron seres humanos. So we're dealing with human beings here, you know. So, and we, again, and I totally get it, you know, I was running the Campus de Ciencias Internacional 4 years, and that was a glorious job. I enjoyed that really very much, but at the end of the day, maybe I had to sign things and say, yes, you are B2 and you are B2, and this is the budget that you have, and because, you know, you are running around, you know, like, you know, crazy everywhere, not really thinking about what you are doing. So what I'm trying to say here is that, you know, could we possibly create spaces where we encourage people to use languages and feel comfortable about their different levels of proficiency and different levels of, you know, probably interactions? Could we try that? Don't you think that if we did that, if we told people it's okay, just use your level of English or French or whatever, you know, it's kind of, we can give ourselves that opportunity to grow as people that want to understand each other and want to communicate. Probably with English and Spanish, we have different opportunities because these are two major languages, blah, 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 and probably people have more training, but with other languages, we can probably take a different perspectives there. And this is great as well, you know, we know from research that one monolingual plus one monolingual doesn't equal two monolinguals, right? So if you speak two languages, you have something bigger than just two languages. You have a larger total linguistics repertoire. Why? Because there's reverse interactions. You know, it's not like because my first language is Spanish or it's Catalan or it's French, my English will be just influenced by my first language, which is something that was okay in the 70s. It's a very Salinger thing. It's, you know, this kind of hypothesis, L1 transfer hypothesis, you know. Your L1 will always get in the way of your L2, so you need to get rid of, don't talk in Spanish because that will get in the way of your English. Oh, this is a terrible mistake. Sorry, no, you shouldn't talk Spanish. I've been there myself. I was trained like that, you know. L1 gets in the way of your L2. Now we know that we can have access to a truly multilingual faculty. You can benefit from different languages and you can incorporate that into your own language learning experience and your identity as a language user and as a language learner, right? But at the end of the day, I think the easier thing to do is to continue with this L1, L2 myth and continue with these two different boxes that apparently they don't talk to each other, they don't communicate. You learn a language as if, you know, other languages could actually contribute to that. We have a very interesting project in the Cambridge Language Sciences about multilingualism, and we're thinking about a truly multilingual pedagogy rather than an L2 pedagogy, right? One that actually looks at the total number of different languages that somebody is learning or using at one particular point, because, you know, you tend to find L2 pedagogies. How well am I doing, Emma? Okay, great, thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, and also, of course, there is, you know, the other day I was listening to Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. Maybe you know her. Have you ever heard of this writer? So go to Google and type The Danger of a Single Story. Beautiful. She is a Nigerian writer, and she is talking about, you know, how, I mean, the power of stories in different languages across different cultures, beautiful and inspiring, you know. I think we need that in institutions if we really want to be other than just a business or something like that. Okay, so using Claire Cram's terminology, we need a third place. We need, you know, we need sort of a metaphor that goes beyond dualities, that goes beyond the L1, L2 sort of dichotomy, which is, you know, very limiting to learners and to teachers. We need to break that and free ourselves from that and believe that we can be living a multilingual identity and really embrace it, okay? But I think we need to make an extra effort there. And according to Claire Cramsch, this is a place that it is by no means unitary, stable, or permanent, or homogeneous, and which respects the individual's identity and different needs and realities. Even Diane Larson-Freeman, if you are not in linguistics, but Diane Larson-Freeman is one of those gurus in applied linguistics. She has been talking about moving away from the term second language acquisition to second language development that is more in tune with a multilingual perspective. Although she said, I know this is not going to be successful because, you know, SLA is a term, we use it and it's functional, okay, let's do it, but it doesn't fully convey what is going on here, right? So, yeah, and of course, you know, I found this on Twitter the other day. This lady or this man was trying to register this conference, and she is in 2 different universities, and the guy on the other side of the line said, so which is your university? And she said, well, probably University of Central Lancashire. Just kind of, okay, so I spent more hours maybe at university. So yeah, so she ended up in being a member of the probably University of Central Lancashire. But you know, we should really embrace, this is so much fun, you know? And there's nothing wrong with this. I mean, this is not your passport or anything like that, right? So we need to admit that everyday communication breakdowns and issues and problems, it's kind of okay, but we need to sort of have the right attitude towards all of this. So I'm about to enter my final part of this presentation very quickly. So why do we care about all of this, right? Well, I truly believe that we need to resist the monolingual bias and the ideology that we find around most debates around language and power, right? And we can do that if we do it from a multilingual perspective. But if we remain in this L1, L2 thing, we are kind of limiting ourselves there, and will be easy praise to many issues around this debate. I think we need to create better conditions for a more tolerant and a more informed debate on multilingualism, both in real everyday practice, but also maybe on a more symbolic meaning, kind of what it means for different people to speak other languages. And when somebody gets to the, you know, to make a registration in the Faculty of Physics, for example, speaking broken Spanish or anything like that, I think he or she needs somebody there that truly believes that this is a human being, this is a person that is implementing or making use of his own multilingual faculty there at this particular moment. And we should kind of engage this situation and embrace this multilingual practice with fresh eyes, you know what I mean, right? And, well, you know, the notion of third space, maybe it's not the best term, but I think we also need, we need to kind of give us the chance to understand, you know, everybody's stories, you know? I mean, the easy thing is to do this, right? Or this is a little bit of Hannah Montana, like the best of both worlds, but probably it's not the best of both worlds. Anyway, I don't mind. So, yeah, again, we need to be more tolerant to the complexities of a multilingual society. If you don't do that in a university, where do you expect to do that? I mean, because, you know, life out there is really, really hard. And yes, language is complex. We all know that. So again, and I'm about to finish. So remember the 7.5%, right? So, you know, even if we sort of go very, you know, into work very hard in this area, I mean, Spanish universities won't be in the top 200 in 2 years' time or 3 years' time. We need to do something. We need to work these areas, right? We need to, I mean, we need to work here. We need to work here too as well, right? And I think multilingualism is a great opportunity to open up new opportunities for the other people to actually get to know us better. So questions, the university that we sort of expect or want in the future is restricted to a single national framework, or you want this perceived as a monocultural university? Is that what we want? Or do we want to accept our role as scapegoats of populist discourse against higher education? We can simply say, okay, well, yeah, this is not the deal. So we want to stay out of this multilingual turn. Is this what we want? Do we want to comply with people that still write in 2016, still write about, just stick to English because there is no so much brain space? Yeah. This is part. We have this site where we sort of collect all of this interesting stuff, very funny ideas about, this is happening. This is 20. This is not Roosevelt 1907. This is 2016. Okay, so it's, I think we need to fight this, as much as we can. So, so in other words, doesn't it make sense that we sort of make use of our language strategy plans or policies just to make the link between education and the multilingual skills which are required, and we create a university that is perceived as more multilingually friendly and aware of that third place that I was talking about? Okay. So, I will stop here. Thank you very much. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you very much. Have time for questions or?
It's been really very inspiring, and just thank you very much for this. And if you allow me, just a word that makes me a little bit uneasy, it's the word tolerance. Is this, can we try and find a word that, at least in Spanish, I don't know if in English the same, it's got a meaning like perdonavidas, as okay, I will allow you to speak a second language. I will allow you to be bilingual. This sort of nuance of meaning. And I don't know if you can try and find, I don't know any other to give this meaning that I think is the one you intend. But when I hear that this term, sometimes makes me feel a little bit,
There's a real danger in constantly repeating this and seeing it in the media, although there's really not an effective way to fight it. The other day I had a very interesting conversation with a young professional, 23 years old, who at one point in the conversation said to me, todo el mundo sabe que el sistema educativo español es una mierda. First I said, well, I'm a teacher, so be careful. And then I said, I know you're trilingual. You speak English well, you speak Spanish well, and you speak Catalan well. You just got a job with a multinational on a European level. Where did you go to school? In Madrid and in Barcelona.
So if I just may say something, just very briefly, it's I thought, sorry, yeah, it's the best of both worlds. Yeah, no, just let me say that it's I think that it's we need to be. I mean, on Friday I was in Vigo, and one of the professors there said, "I want to vindicate my right to be to proclaim that art is the most important part of my job as a university teacher, and I want to be radical about the need for art and for expression in our everyday life." So I think we need to be, I think we need to know that there is this discourse that is underlying, and apparently it's about poor numbers in, because we are not good, we are not attracting international students or teachers, therefore we don't need you, or we don't need critical thinking, or we don't need to fund the public university system in this country or in that country. I think we need to know that there is this discourse going on there, and to spot it and identify, and I think I was so much shocked when I read about this corruption thing, and then no es de extrañar que, what's the connection there? I mean, it's just, it's just a plug. Anything you say, and then it's, no es de extrañar que you are not even a single university is in the top 200, right? Why? I don't care. I mean, I have a hidden agenda, right? Or maybe it's not so hidden, right? But my agenda is, I want to get rid of this money going to the public university for other reasons. Okay. Sorry, just wanted to make that.
Thank you. And you haven't pointed out the fact that the funding is behind everything, all the indicators to feature high in those rankings. We're not taking into account that we have the best university we can with the money we invest on it. And this is something that is underlying all of that, and people forget about. And you can get from the World Bank and OECD and other databases, you can get how much we spend on higher education, how we compare with those countries we very happily want to compare with. But my question wasn't about that. Do you think that in connection with this potential that we have, part of internationalization is actually bringing here those students who want to learn Spanish and to make Spanish accessible for them, and to cater and model our modules, not for native speakers of Spanish, but for non-native speakers of Spanish, a sort of EMI, Spanish EMI. Do you think this could be the future or one way? And I know it's not, because we're not going to put the money in for that to happen. Do you think this is the great missing opportunity? Or this could be the silver bullet?
Well, yesterday there was this great roundtable about the role of the, thank you, there was about the role of the Spanish language center, right? And I mean, I think it was a brilliant roundtable, very interesting ideas, and so much has been done in that area. I think that Complutense in particular is doing a great job in that area. I think it's the most successful university, right, in probably together with Barcelona maybe in that area. So they're doing a very good job there. Shouldn't have different agendas, different sort of kind of aims. My impression is that, well, what I was trying to say is that if we create the conditions for a more multilingual institution that embraces both Spanish and English, will be more attractive to the population out there, whether they come from China or they come from, I don't know, Singapore, or they come from India or from other countries, of course, South America and other countries. So it's like a win-win situation where we can be, we can be both. We can be good at what we are doing in terms of Spanish learning and teaching, but we can probably be, not only good at L2 EMI programs, but integrate the EMI notion into a wider notion of multilingualism, where it is more embracing and is more attractive, and it can, you know, provide us with opportunities to excel there. Because, to be honest, I don't know what we are doing here, you know. So if we don't do anything here, we will never, ever, never be in the top 200 or even in the top 150, simply because the very design of these rankings has other universities in mind. And they are not looking at the complexities of public universities in Europe or in southern Mediterranean countries and so on and so forth, or even in northern countries. But yeah, yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yo creo que realmente, frente al evento que organizamos hace 2 años, que sería el tercero, hace 3 años, hemos avanzado de una manera importante. Y ahora puede parecer numéricamente que no, sí. Es decir, se están moviendo piezas, están cambiando cosas, están ocurriendo cambios ahí, y luego contamos con gente que no ha participado nunca y que ahora está aquí, que yo creo que va a tener un efecto multiplicador. Entonces, os doy las gracias a todos. No podríamos haber hecho nada sin este magnífico comité que tenemos, que somos. Falta Arma, que no pudo venir por un accidente, pero bueno, a ver, y David, que está ahí. Entonces, gracias a todos y la palabra a Lola.
Bueno, pues nada, que estoy encantada. Ya que soy invitada. Entonces, lo que que ha sido un placer participar en estas jornadas y que estoy deseando que llegue la siguiente edición, porque creo que es un foro ideal. Me manda tanto, pero seguro que lo dice muy poco bajita. Yo creo que sí. Es el foro perfecto para que todos podamos intercambiar opiniones, ideas, conocimientos y a ver si de verdad podemos crear esa universidad internacional, sobre todo integradora y de calidad, y que haga muchas cosas buenas por la sociedad. Muchas gracias.
Que lo comentéis por ahí, que habéis de entrar en la conversación aquellos que sabíais menos y que acabáis de llegar, y que lo contéis, spread the word, as they say. ¿Vale? Y ahora si quieres poner el vídeo, y luego muchas